I do not know how any mothers watch their girls go through puberty and uh, having to deal with men. And I say men, not boys. That's a whole nother thing, but men. And the reason why I'm thinking about this is several reasons. First of all, I have a niece who's 11. And just seeing her, she's a tween, right? And oh my God, I live in constant fear now. Like, I live in constant fear now because it brings back when I was that age, right? Now, I'm going to give you a couple examples of stories when I was 12, 13, 14, where I was like, oh my God, what is this? And before I forget, please join my Patreon. I've got a couple really amazing lives coming up. If you may never see my stuff, if the algorithm doesn't like me today or tomorrow or for a long time, and you may forget I exist. So at least if you follow my Patreon, even the free tier, you will get notified when I put work out in the world, so you can keep hanging out here. Anyway, there's a link in the whatever it's called, the caption, and comment, share, all that stuff really helps me grow. Anyway, it's funny because I was really surprised by it. Like, I had been schmegulized as a child. I'm a survivor of childhood SA. It wasn't new to me that men were like wanting to touch me when I'm a literal child. That wasn't new to me. What was new to me was feeling empowered by it in this really weird way. And that is what I'm still struggling with, I guess, because watching girls in that age where now they're like more aware of men and their peers being attracted to them. The men part is so gross and part of purity culture and patriarchy and all of these systems that are getting us unalived and are just terrible for everyone and whatever. But this is the first time I've seen her like want to be attractive, like caring about it. And then I was like, oh, that's the difference. I wasn't new for me to be hit on or like leered at by men, men. When I was literally like, I don't know, not a toddler, but like 4, 5, like whatever. Anyway, this has been going on for so long. So it wasn't, I knew that men were like that, unfortunately, from a ridiculously young age. That was not surprising to me. What was surprising to me is liking it. Like being really weirded out by it and scared of it, but at the same time being a little bit empowered by it and being like, oh, I got the power now. And it's such a mind fork. I don't know how moms go through this. How on earth do you talk to your kids about this? I don't even know. I'm very close to my sister. So I'm going to be running everything by her. But I'm like, oh my God, we're here. Crap, we're here. Because I was thinking like 10 and 11 was still like, I don't know. I just remember when I was 10, she's 11, but I remember, almost 12. But I just remember being like, 9, 10, 11 felt kind of like the fun kid years where you were like a kid still, but like really smart. You know what I mean? And could like hold it down. You can have like adult conversations and people like treated you with more respect. And then you become a teenager and now everyone thinks you are ridiculous because you have all these hormones and you kind of are ridiculous. But you also challenge adults all the time and they can't stand it. So they like demoralize you all the time and criticize you and like make fun of you for being angry about things you actually have every right to be angry about. You just weren't in touch with it, right? Also being just whatever, like hormonal, and so you're more sensitive and things are like kind of ridiculous and you realize you understand things aren't fair. Like really understand that all my years working with teenagers, and again, I've been working with kids for a long time. In the outdoors, I worked with all ages. I taught like toddlers how to ski. I taught, elementary school, middle school, and high school students outdoor stuff, rafting, climbing, ropes courses, canoeing, sea kayaking, backpacking, all this stuff, right? And I was also a substitute teacher in New York when I was there, trying to make, I'm a hustler, right? I've done so many crazy jobs, but I have a lot of experience with kids. And I was a nanny too in LA with babies and toddlers. And so I am kind of shocked that I have spent this much time with children given how much, just how child-free I've always been and never wanted them myself. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with healing. The more I heal, like, my child stuff, the less I hate children, right? The less afraid of them, of their big emotions that I am. So I don't know, like, my relationship with children has changed as I have changed. But one of the things that I remember, I forgot how much it kind of bothered me, or maybe not bothered me, triggered me, was seeing girls in that age where they're starting to own it, being like, oh, you're attracted to me? Well, I got power over you now, which I really don't, but it felt that way. And so I remember the first example of this, I just got back from family vacation, and our last night was like a date night. Me and Anthony, we had like a layover day in Greece, in Athens, and we were out, and I started just talking about all these family. I had never told him about all these Hamlet family vacations. I mean, I told him some, but I hadn't like told him some of the other ones. I was just like kind of connected a lot of the dots, and he knows like almost all my stories, but obviously he doesn't know all of them because he hasn't lived my life of the 41 or 40 years before I met him. I don't know all his stories, but he was just like, I forget that he doesn't know some of these stories. So I was just talking. He's like, wait, what? Anyway, this story is about there was 2 times when I was like barely a teenager, or more like a tween. Maybe I was like 12 and 13, I think. Something like that. I don't know. I don't even know what a tween is. What is that, 11? What is a teenager 13 and whatever. Anyway, but I remember the very first time I was on a cruise, and it was like a really, it's my dad, and this is one of the many things I'll be grateful for. Many y'all know my issues with my dad have been big my whole life, and he's a narcissist and drank and all that stuff. But one of the things he did is he introduced me to international travel, even if it was a cruise. Even though you spend like 5 hours at this country, it's not the same. But it was still an experience. I never, I'm like, it was like a kid from the South. Never really been outside of the state of Tennessee, or maybe a state that touches Tennessee, really, or whatever. And so to go like on like a 3 or 4 day cruise to like the Bahamas or something, I forget where else we went, which is really crazy and makes me a little ashamed. But I don't know, we didn't really see the countries. Went snorkeling or something, or a little adventure, when they're package deals. By the way, I hate the cruise industry. It is one of the most wasteful. I should make a whole video on this. They literally dump everything into the ocean, including furniture they don't want. Like one of my friends was like worked on a cruise ship and told me some of the stuff that they do, and it's like, oh my God. Anyway, well, whatever. I was a tween, didn't know anything. Whatever. I don't judge people who go on cruises, but I'm just saying, look it up before you go. I can't imagine being trapped on a boat on a pandemic. Anyway, oh my God, I'm getting so distracted. ADHD. On this little 4-day adventure, I remember, first of all, like, the rules, the U.S. rules don't apply out there on like international waters, right? It's like 18 to drink, there's none of this 21 stuff, right? And they don't really enforce it, because I got, this is how the story comes into. I was just laying there in my little bikini with my like baby teeth that hadn't come in yet. I had gaps in my teeth. Like I had they had pulled my teeth, and the ones that had not come in. So I had these big gaps. I had the Hamlet hips. I had this big old, maybe they're not Hamlet hips. They're actually probably from my mom's side. But I had these big old hips, flat chested. I'm not flat, but chicken bone makes me look flat. But whatever. But I had like a curvy body. And I was just laying out. And the waiter comes over with a pineapple daiquiri or something, and it's like, this is from the man over there. And I looked over there, and this man, he looked like he was probably 32 or 30. Like, he looked like what I would call now is a finance bro. Like, looked very fancy, looked kind of rich, with another very adult man, very good looking man. And I was like, thanks. And I remember being so flattered and so terrified at the same time. I was like, oh my God, he thinks I'm an adult. He thinks I'm 21. And then being like, oh my God, he bought me something. Do I have to fork him now? And just him looking at me, and he was like cheersing me, but I didn't know what to do with that. I was like 12, right? I just remember being like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I love this, but I don't know what to do. And I got scared. I spent the whole rest of the cruise trying to avoid this man. Not only that, I actually faked drinking it. I was just like, I mean, actually, adult Melanie, 46-year-old Melanie, is so proud of 12-year-old Melanie, who was like, thanks. And never went over and talked to him and was like, just drank it. You know, I mean, I'm sure he was expecting me to be like, man, come here, going over there. Nope, I didn't even drink it. I pretended to drink it. But actually, like, blew him off. I didn't realize this. I was like, but whatever. I didn't know what dating was. I didn't even know what is he. I knew he wanted something from me, and I knew I didn't want to give him that. And I felt good that he wanted that from me, but I didn't want to give it to him. I didn't even know what it was. It was like that. Do y'all remember this? Do you remember being like stepping into your power of being like, dang, I got something they want. So on some level, I got power, but then being like, wait, all of them want this. Like, I don't want, what do I do? Like, just being so confused. So confused. And when you have childhood SA from multiple adult men in your history, then it's like, I owe you everything, and so basically what I did is I was just pretended to drink it, and then was like, and then I just disappeared and spent the whole rest of the cruise hiding from this man. I never told anybody. I don't even think I told my sister. Maybe I told my sister. But I was just like, oh my God, is that him? Is that him? I was so afraid of running into this man because I knew I'd have to give him something. I knew I'd have to give him something because I owed him something now. That's how I thought. That's how I still thought in my 30s. Like, I would never admit that out loud, but you know how long it's taken me to unfork my brain just because of patriarchy, but also because of childhood SA and, you know, narcissistic parent and being parentified and all that crap, right? So that was one instance, and that was the first time I was like, oh my God, I'm a woman now. Like, at least when I was a child, I knew that I'm a child. And like, this seems messed up and wrong and totally inappropriate. But when you're a teenager and you're getting attention and you want it and you like it, and then you're terrified by what it actually feels like and the reality of it, that's something different. Because you kind of want it. And you don't want your like the immature boys your age. You want older dudes, but not 32-year-old me seemed a little out of my category, you know? And yet it felt so good. Anyway, just this like, oh my God, this is terrifying. I want it. I hate this. I don't like, all at the same time, right? And then the next year going on a family vacation, I forget where, and we did like the Sea-Doo things. Oh my God, y'all, look who's here. He is already on strike. He's such a French dog. He's like, I just got off vacation. I'm not going back. I feel you, bro. Anthony literally just showed up with him. He was up at my in-laws' house while we were gone, living his best life in the country. I'm sorry. He's like, I hate the city. Why do you keep me here? Anyway, so I was on a Sea-Doo with this dude, and the guide was touching me and was like, he was behind me and his arms were around me and he was whispering, hey, I don't even know what he said. I like disassociated, pretended like none of that was happening, froze, you know, all the stuff that you learn to do. I've missed him so much. But yeah, was literally like caressing me, whispering in my ear the whole Sea-Doo ride. And then because I was with my dad, I'm not like I would have told my mom. Probably wouldn't have told anybody because that's what I did, is just not tell people. But of course I didn't tell my dad when we got back. And I just remember being like, okay, I really didn't want this man to do that. Again, this was just more of the same. But I felt like more guilty or responsible for it, you know, because I was a teenager now. And I had like woman stuff, right? Like I knew that I was attracting male attention in a way that didn't seem as wrong, because I thought, you know, it's like when you're a tween and a teenager, you think you're an adult because you're in that weird middle place, right? And so because I wanted to be an adult so bad and I was trying to dress like an adult and act like an adult, when I got male attention from adult men, Because let's not kid around here. If a man is hitting on a teenager, people think it's just little kid. That's why, grown men, especially 30, 40, 25, 30, I mean, I get it if you're like 21 hitting on a 19-year-old, like that's different. But grown men hitting on, catcalling, schmegulizing teenagers. That's, sorry, but because I wanted to be an adult and was trying to be an adult, I felt responsible. I felt complicit in it. And I have a whole culture that taught me to do that. So that weird space of being like, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like even teenagers or tweens are going to be less likely to talk to their adults in their life about what's happening with men doing this stuff, because patriarchy's already set them up to blame themselves for whatever men do, but especially when they're trying to be older. And that's what this whole video, the point of this video, is that, being around a tween. Oh, can you wait to do that, please? Oh, sorry. I know he's just looking at his foot, but it's like pretty loud. I hope you can't hear that. Okay. That weird place of like trying to be older, that like you were like, please talk to your tweens and teenage girls about this. Please tell them, hey, you're probably going to get a lot of attention from men. I hope you don't. You're obviously going to get attention from your peers and stuff, but you're going to get attention from men. Those are just two stories. I have endless stories of men hitting on me and my teenage girlfriends in middle school and high school. And I actually want to draw attention to one tweet that I saw the other day, because it reminded me, oh yeah, we need to be talking, because they're less likely to tell adults unless they're really close to that adult, because especially if they think it's their fault. If they were maybe dressing something really, revealing, and we're really wanting male attention, when they finally get it, they may be scared, and they may also at the same time get a little bit of delight in it and validation from it, and then therefore they feel complicit in it, like it's their fault, and it's not. And I really hope that we stop blaming girls for this, because I have so much to say about this. There's so many stories right now where it's like, oh my God, everything. We just literally blame all girls and women for every single thing that men do, including literal preying on them. Which reminds me, before I go on, this story I wrote for the Washington Post. It's so important to talk to our mothers about our Me Too's and this was, please read that article if you can. I've done a video on it before. Just Melanie Hamlet, Me Too, Washington Post, it'll come up. Because what I talk about in there is that I had no idea that my stepmom and women, this is nothing new. They just weren't talking about it, right? And so I interviewed a lot of mothers who actually talked about it. Their daughters were like, hey, all this stuff happened to me. This is what's going to happen. This is what literally happened to me. This is how I handled it. That not only did these women, when they were girls, go out into the world prepared, they also could trust the women in their lives to talk to them about it and ask them for advice. Please do not perpetuate the culture of silence around this stuff. Prepare your girls for what's going to happen. You don't have to ruin their reality entirely or their innocence, but if you don't do it, someone will. You can either ruin their innocence with some facts and some truth and some information that will help them to prepare them, or you can let some man ruin their innocence. And steal their innocence from them. Introduce them to the terrifying world of men if they didn't already have a dad, an uncle, a grandpa, a stepfather who already did that for them, or another trusted family relative member, whatever. If you don't ruin that innocence for them in a very, thoughtful way, some man will. And if you don't prepare them for that, and don't open up that conversation on some level, earlier than you think you should, they may never tell you about it because they're going to think they're the only one. That is literally what me and most of my peers, I know Gen Xers and other generations too, I'll speak for myself. We went when everyone started sharing their stories so openly in 2017 on Facebook, and not just movie stars, but like literally like everywhere. I was like, all the women I know were telling their stories, that we were like, oh crap. I was sitting on this all by myself thinking I'm alone, and it's literally happening to all of us, right? Protect your daughters from having to experience that again. Or having experienced that, of collectively finding out in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s that every woman they know has had some lowercase t or capital T of schmegsual assault, some violation, if not a major, giant capital T trauma. So I'm going to read this quote, this little thread really quick, and then I'm going to end this. Okay, here's the tweet. Look at him looking at us. This is the username. My teen daughter and I went on a walk tonight, and she told me something that stopped my heart. I was sharing it because it reminded me of how important it is to talk to our kids about being aware of their surroundings. Their surroundings, or men especially. Also for other people, including men, but there's some nuance to how men get involved in this. But I'm telling you, women are going to be looking out for girls more than men ever are, because we understand men more. But this is, so anyway. She went out to strip mall today with a group of friends, and they decided to have lunch at Panera. She said a man was standing by the door watching them while they ordered their food, and then followed them around while they looked for a table. The girls mentioned briefly to each other that they felt uncomfortable. They thought maybe they were overreacting. Teach girls, they are not overreacting. And you know what? I'd rather them overreact than underreact. And they tried to ignore him. While they were talking, an older woman doing work at another table called my daughter over, saying she wanted to talk to her. The woman told her that she'd noticed the man watching them, and that she just wanted to make sure they didn't go anywhere alone. Oh, God bless this woman. Men have never been our protectors. They never will be unless they unpack patriarchy and deal with their own trauma. And anyway, always go to a woman for help, never a man. My daughter thanked her and then sat down with her friends, where this man had now moved around to the barrier between their booth and the pickup counter, and was staring through a crack at them. See, this guy knew that they were onto him, so what did he do? He got sneakier. They tried to ignore him, but thankfully other people noticed his behavior. When you see girls, but especially teen girls, tween girls, and they're not in parent supervision, especially, or even if they are, especially if they're with a dad, I'm telling you, men don't notice or don't care unless they've been educating themselves how dangerous other men are. It is the women who are paying attention to this. Anyway, thankfully, but watch out for them. You may be the only person watching out for them, because some of them don't know how dangerous men are, and some of them also are probably raised around abusers where this is just normal, and they just gaslight themselves and blame themselves, and they're not all that. They may feel uncomfortable, but they're also comfortable with it because they have one of them in their home. So they may just be naive and don't know yet. A worker went over and asked him to leave. I love this story, y'all. I know that this is a really hard story, but I just see the hope in this story. Look at all these people looking out for these girls. This actually gives me a lot of hope. Which he did. He left. But they could see he was loitering right in front of the store. When they finished their lunch, they quietly went out the back and to the bookstore, where they stayed until their moms came to pick them up. I love this story. Anyway, if you've ever had these conversations with your kids before, it is not an overkill to have them again. And thank you to the adults who are looking out for these girls, though I do think calling security would have been appropriate. Yeah. But still, it wasn't just one lady. It was like the workers, other people. This was a team effort. I find this actually shocking. I like to be surprised like this. Not many things surprise me in terms of how awful things are, but I love this kind of surprise. Love it. And I'm pretty sure that tweet went viral, and there's a reason for it. Much needed conversation. Either that's happened to you or whatever. Anyway, please talk about this stuff. Younger than you think your kids need to hear it. Talk to them. And also, you can educate yourself on how to talk to them. There are I follow some people on TikTok who talk about this stuff. I'll try to remember them if I remember to tag them. I forget their username because the algorithm doesn't send their stuff to me anymore. If the algorithm doesn't send, if you don't show up on my FYP, then I forget you exist, which is why I'm going to remind you to follow my Patreon, because you may never see my stuff again. If at least if the free member on Patreon, you will get notified when I put work out into the world. Whereas these other things, you like, if the algorithm just like doesn't like me, then oh well. Out of luck. Please comment, share if you have any resources. If you want to, if you put in in the comments, it'll immediately flag it and erase it and put it into, like, if you put like an actual website. So if you have a resource, to say like in quotes what the name of the website is instead of it putting a .com, because people like, the AI will delete stuff like that. And instead of putting an @ sign, put like say at .dotcom or whatever. Book titles, that's all fine. But just saying, I don't want to lose good resources because the AI thought you were trying to spam or whatever. Anyway, we are back. We are back. Had a great trip to France, very intense one. You want to see some of the Greece. And other than the drowning of that man, everything was pretty good. Intense, but good. If you want to see that story, I'll try to remember to link it. Anyway, let me know if you heard the comment song, because it's coming right now. Welcome to the comment song with some photos from my yesteryears. This is when I thought I was Julia Baker from Designing Women, the future lawyer. That didn't work out well. If you're new to the comment song, this is the place that I just mess around and give you time to write what you want. Here it comes. Okay, this is still the comment song, but this is the photo from that cruise. See, I had those Hamlet hips and the blue bathing suit that was kind of cute. But a man in his 30s thought I was 21, I guess, or whatever. Probably not, whatever. But this is from that cruise. I know. Maybe I look older than like 12 or however old I am, but this was terrifying. Anyway, the comment song is ending soon because it needs to, and hopefully you've commented. I can't believe I found this photo for you. I was 12 or 13 at the oldest. This is when I realized that my reality is scary. Oh my God, I'm going to end this song now. I'm just messing around, y'all. Thanks for listening. Let me know if you heard the comment song. I am trying to get fun and creative with it because they don't always include instruments, and I want to show you a photo. Anyway, thanks for being here. Et voila, the comment song. The comment song. Hey, hey. The comment song. Yeah, yeah. Hey.